Sorry, Laura's here and I was having a hard time with technology throwing it on the TV. So she's just gonna sit here and listen. Okay, guys, anybody else got anything before we start sharing? I know a few people usually pop on about 3 or 4 minutes late, so we try to stall just a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this with all of my stuff on the screen. Can we see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can.
And we're live streaming.
Oh no, that's so scary.
You're
Okay.
live on YouTube.
Okay, well, hello world. This is Allison Greco, not Anna Powell. But I'm Allison Greco, and that's Anna Powell. And we run Agents Empowered every Wednesday at 8:30. And we want to just say thank you all for being here. The training that we're doing today is actually sparked by a book. It's the 12-week year. And the reason that I wanted to do this training today is because we were doing recaps and we were talking on our quarter 1 recaps and all of the things. And it feels like we set these 1 year goals, right? And we set these things for ourselves and we don't take the time to sit back, reflect on them. And then at the end of the year, we think, gosh, we didn't hit the goal we wanted to hit, but next year we will. We'll start over, we'll recap, we'll go again, and we'll work it out. And so the 12-week year, I highly recommend you buying the book or listening to it if you have not. It breaks your year down into 4 12 weeks. And the beauty of this is that the 12-week quarter actually would be 13 weeks. And so it gives you the chance to congratulate yourself, celebrate yourself at the end of the 12 weeks, because you need to be able to have that dopamine hit. You need to be able to sit down, spend the time to reflect and realize what you did, what your wins were, and maybe what your downfalls were, so that you can go back into your next 12-week year. And you just keep going through this instead of having to take the bite out of the whole year. And so the concept of this is that, many of us do these New Year's resolutions and they really kind of fizzle out by January, right? And so if you've, or by February. And so if you've ever been there, you're not alone. Most people have a very hard time doing something for 90 days consistently. And that's where a lot of the failure comes. And so this book really helps you break these things down into obtainable goals, that really help you win. And so yearly thinking is a silent killer of goals. And I believe it breeds procrastination and it really overwhelms me personally. So I like to do it this way. And the 12-week year flips this mindset. And so it's not just like a shortcut to your calendar. It's really a strategy for you to have rapid growth. It helps you focus in on the actions in your real estate business. And what I believe is it gives me quicker dopamine hits and quicker wins. So that's the reason that I wanted to teach about this today. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they'd really love to learn or gain from this today before I move forward? Cool. I'm going to rock and roll into it. Maybe I'm not. There I am. Okay. All right. The power of the 12 weeks. So again, I'm going to kind of like go back and repeat a little bit, but it's going to give you a shorter time frame. It's going to help you concentrate your year into a 12-week period. And I always say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. You can't sit in front of this big project and just sit there and overanalyze and it just overwhelms you, right? And so this gives you a clearer focus. It gives you shorter periods of time that helps you avoid distractions. That's a big one. And it really helps you stay focused. And for real estate goals, we want to make sure that we're really focusing on tracking our key results. Like, if we're going to break this down and get into it, but if it's tracking how many listings you're going to take, how many sales are under contracts, pending
Hey,
units,
girl.
leads, things like that. We want to make sure that we're breaking these down. And these are called our KPIs, our key performance indicators. And then the biggest thing for me about a 12-week year is it gives me quick wins. I need quick wins, right? So my husband owns a pool company. And on Saturday morning, he was installing our personal pool at the house we're building. And on Saturday morning, he was like, hey, do you want to come and help me? So I went out there and he told me what I had to do the whole day. And guys, within 1 hour, I quit. I was like, I'm not seeing progress. This is horrible. I don't like it because the job took a lot more time than I was willing to put in because I like quick results. It's why I like to paint or why I like to create things because I can see it happening in front of my face. And for that project, it felt very daunting to me. But if he would have broken down each part for me, I could have been able to say, okay, I did this piece and now to the next one. But he gave me this one big picture, and I was like, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that I'm going to sit here for 7 hours and shovel dirt. It's not going to happen. And so that's why I started thinking, this is the same way that we execute our businesses and we get exhausted, right? And so to the right, you can see that Tina actually did a really good training on this, but it correlates your income with your daily conversation. So 5 conversations, not dials, 5 conversations a day typically equates to about 50,000 in income. 10 equates to 75,000, 15, 100,000. And so if we know that there are proven systems that show us that if we're having a set amount of conversations a day, that we can correlate this to a industry standard of income, that makes me feel like, okay, I can use that as a KPI, as a key performance indicator. And if I hit that benchmark, then I can make this much money. Right. And so what we want to do is really work together to figure out how we can break some of these items down, what works best for you, because we're all different. Our brains all work differently. And we need to figure out a way that we can really break our goals down into four different years in 1 year so that we get quicker dopamine hits. Does that make sense to everybody? I see head shaking. Yes. Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, there we go. It's just finicky. Okay, so the core principles of the 12-week year, we've got our measurements. That's at the bottom, right? That's tracking our KPIs meticulously. This is where a lot of people, they fail, right? Because it's hard to sit down every hour, every 2 hours at the end of every day and go back through and say, okay, I made this many phone calls. This is how many calls it took for me to get this many people on the phone. It took this many people on the phone to get this many over 2 minute conversations to qualify as a conversation, right? So we need to break down exactly what this looks like. If you're doing for sale by owners, if you're doing expireds, if you're doing door knocking or farming or cold calling, we've got to know how many activities we have to do to get to the goal so that we can back into it to know, okay, if I want to make X amount of dollars this year, that means I'm going to need X amount of listings. That means I'm going to need to go after X amount of for sale by owners and expireds. But to actually convert that for sale by owner expired, I have to call 25 of them to get one. If you're not tracking your key performance indicators and your daily activities, you're never going to be able to do the math equation. And guys, it really is a simple math equation. And so we have to track those KPIs. A lot of this too is breaking down the process of it. And so the beauty of when we start breaking down this 12 weeks is that we start to see after week 1, okay, this worked and this didn't work. What most people do, it's like we talked about right in the beginning, is what most people do is they say, okay, I've got a fitness goal or I've got a real estate goal. And all of a sudden, within 7 days, they're not doing the things that they set out to do. They didn't stick to the diet. They didn't stick to the 75 hard for anybody that's doing 75 hard in our group, right? And so we've got to be able to go back and say, okay, what did I fail at and what was I really good at? What drained my cup and what filled my cup? And we need to be able to break this down and not wait until November of 2025 to realize, oh my gosh, my goal was to make $100,000 in income and I made 27. What did I do wrong? I love the reflection. I just don't love that we're doing it in November. Because now between November and December, you're going to have to pull a rabbit out of your hat to figure out how you get back to your baseline to get to that goal. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when we realize we missed our goal by a lot and there's nothing we can do about it. All right. And so then the planning is breaking down our vision into these concrete 12-week goals, really being able to knock them out and stick to it. And I think a big part of this is an accountability partner. And then having the vision, right? That's at the top of this pyramid, and it's really defining your long-term dream. And that's what we're going to kind of go into, that I think that this really grounds it to the why a little bit, because if we don't have the why and we don't have the processes, it tends not to work. And so I love a GPS. So to the right of this right here, it shows you a GPS. A GPS is goal, priority, strategy. So we're going to do a goal. Does anybody want to give me like a smart, tangible, achievable goal? It could be business, it could be life, it could be personal, whatever.
My goal is to help 48 families get into homes this year.
Okay, I love that. So this is going to be a really broad one, right? Like that's for Melanie. That's Melanie Odd, I believe, right, Melanie? Because I only see Melanie's iPhone.
Yes, but I also break that down into quarters, like just like you're saying. So
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's just start with our big goal as a really good example. So help 48 families. So now we're going to break this down into three pillars, into three priorities. And so Melanie, do you want to help me like break these three priorities down?
absolutely.
Okay. So what would be priority number one that we're going to do to achieve the goal of 48 families?
I make quality connections every day with with people who can help me to achieve that goal. So I do that with realtors, I do that with current clients, I do that with past clients, I do that with pre-qualified clients. I make sure that I make connections every single day.
So what she's saying is that her priority is making connections. I would encourage you and challenge you to change that priority to something a little bit more specific and tangible, i.e., if we know our KPIs, if we know how many clients as a real estate agent we have to call to get one listing appointment, or how many connections we have to as a mortgage lender to get one application, right? So maybe the goal would be I want 5 quality conversations a day. Because if we go back,
It's 20, it's my goal is 24 quality conversations a week. And I know
perfect.
that sounds low to you guys, but that's how I break it down.
No, that's fine. So I'm just trying to teach everybody as they create a GPS that priority number one is 24 quality conversations a week.
And a quality conversation is a conversation lasting at least 2 minutes about what we need to be talking about, real estate.
Perfect. And so then you already kind of told us your strategy, right? You started by saying that's connecting with real estate agents in your market. That's creating with your sphere. That's creating conversations with past clients that you've sold a home to do a home equity line of credit or a HELOC or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to break down that priority into these are the 5 strategies I'm going to do to get to those 24 conversations a week. Does that make sense to everybody? Because we can set a goal that says, I want to close 48 units. We can set a goal that says, I want to do 48 loans. But that feels overwhelming. Okay, well, how? The GPS is what gives you the roadmap to do that, right? And so it's so important that we have weekly scorecards. I like a GPS every week. I would print this out, put it in a 3-ring binder, put it inside of my notebook, literally. And that is the front of my week, is my GPS. What is my big goal that I have to accomplish this week? What are my 3 priorities that I'm going to do to get to that goal? And then what are the 5 strategies that I'm going to do to get that? And when we break our whole 52-week year down into 12-week chunks with a vacation or a prize or something to give ourselves that pat on the back and that dopamine hit, right? Like, what are we going to do to congratulate ourselves at the end of that 12 weeks? So we're running this race and we see a finish line. And so you can take a GPS for your entire year. You can break that GPS and down into 4 12-week years. And then you can break that GPS down even further into the months and then the weeks. And so if this is how your brain works and you need to just write it down, you're creating a roadmap. If I told you right now to get in the car and drive to California, what would you do? Anybody? You guys are here. If I told you to get in the car right now and drive to California, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd be figuring out the map, where I'm stopping.
Yeah, right. She's gonna put it in her GPS. Oh,
I would
weird.
ask what part of California, like where exactly do you need me to go first?
I love that. You're a wanderer. I think that's great. I know that I'm going to drive west, right? Like, that's all I know. And then I'm going to go and need to find a map, or I'm going to have to put it into my GPS. Guys, how am I going to get to California without a GPS? So I love the correlation here that like I'm using a GPS because it's my map. It helps me break down every turn, every stop. Where am I going to go? Do I have to charge my Tesla? Like all the things, right? And so we've got our weekly scorecards. We establish our daily actions. And whatever this looks like to you, whatever these big pillars are for you, we're going to do script practice, market research. We're going to follow up. We're going to have our systems in place. And so it's really important that we focus on this. And then we define our weekly tactics. Like what do we have to do to hit those KPIs? 10 prospecting calls daily, 3 client meetings a week. That's all your strategy. You're defining your strategy, right? And then we've set this really big, bold, definable goal that at the end of the 12 weeks, we get to celebrate ourselves for. And it's going to happen so much faster than having to wait an entire year, 52 weeks, 12 months, right? It's going to feel so much better to break it down. How is everybody feeling about this? Or is anybody feeling like this is just really not achievable? It seems like too much work. Like what are our real gut feelings around this?
I personally love the 12-week year. I have read the book multiple times, and I think every time I read it, I get another little nugget out of it. But it just makes so much sense to just take your goal, break it down, and then just hyper focus for 90 days versus feeling like you have 12 months to reach a goal. I procrastinate, so I will wait till the last minute to try to reach my goal. So it's much easier to wrap your brain around 90 days versus 12 months.
Yeah, I agree. I procrastinate too. Nothing gets done unless it's the last minute. Like legit. I will just finish it all. Like I have my whole team coming over for a listing training at 9 o'clock right after this, guys. And I'm not kidding you. I'm gonna get off of this at 9 o'clock, and I'm gonna probably sweep my floor when I could have swept the floor since 4:30 this morning when I was awake. But like every little thing for me has to just be defined. I have to know what it's gonna do, and I have to have my deadline. And I'm typically gonna wait till the end. So if I didn't have my small goals, I would wait to the end of the year and turn around and be like, well, I didn't hit anything that I wanted to do. So more than just doing this like in business and like saying, okay, I want to make $100,000 or I want to make $1 million. I think a lot of this too is really the interactive life audit. And so I want everybody just to take a minute, take a deep breath, because I know I have high energy and I probably stress a lot of people out. And I want you guys to either text it to yourself or write it down. And I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on these 7 key factors, okay? Where do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in your business and career? So if you're a real estate agent, listings, closings, your income, where do you rate yourself? All right, now we're going to rate ourselves 1 to 10 on our contribution, our giving back, our community impact, how we're showing up for our communities and our contribution to others. Okay. I want us to do the same thing, but for fun and recreation, for hobbies, for travel, for downtime, things that really, fill our cup and help us recharge. Same thing, scale of 1 to 10 on our finances. How much do you have in your savings account and your investments? How much debt are you in? How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 about your finances? All right. And then health, fitness, nutrition, your energy level, your overall health and wellness. Okay. Same thing on relationships with our family, with our clients, with our mentors, our friends. What does your overall relationship rating look like? And then we're going to do, lastly, personal growth. learning, skills, development. Okay, so I want you guys to add that all up. So you have 7 categories, add it all up. Is anybody willing to be vulnerable and share their number? Let's see. Oh, Sonia did 53. Okay. Sonia, are you okay if I do some math on you? So she didn't say yes, but I'm going to take that as a yes. So yes. So 53 out of 70, right? Vicky is 52. So 53 out of 70 is a 75. And 52 out of 70 is a 74. So if we go back to being like middle schoolers or elementary school, I don't remember how you grade in elementary school, but what does a 74 or a 75 equate to? I don't remember exactly, but I think it's a C plus. It's a C plus. So are you okay with a C plus is the question. And if the answer is like, yeah, that's all the capacity I have right now, great. That's okay. That's okay. We're not here to judge. We're not here to talk about it. We're here to just enlighten ourselves and look at these 7 core items. And what I would encourage you to do is turning your audit insights into action. So if we can identify the key areas, so let's choose 2 categories with the lowest score. And then set a 12-week plan around those 2 lowest scores, around those 2 lowest pillars. Set smart goals around them. If it's your family and your friends, or if it's your spirituality that needs help, or if it's that you're not taking enough downtime or filling your cup, if it's that your finances aren't where they need to be, guys, you can make a GPS around that very easily, right? If I know that I want to put, I'm not great at math, so I'm going to use easy math, $1,200 into my savings account at the end of my 12 weeks. How many dollars do I need to put into my savings account each week? $100, right? Now, are you telling me that I can't create a GPS around how do I achieve doing $100 a week into a bank account? Absolutely. I mean, this is a very like dumbed down version to make it simple, but it's achievable bite-sized pieces that don't feel so overwhelming. And that's the point, right? Is that we need to build weekly plans. We need to calculate our impact, quantify how these improvements will transform our lives, our personal lives, our real estate business, all of the above, right? And so the point of this isn't about just trying to figure out how to make $1 million or $100,000 or whatever that number is. It's about all of the things and looking at those 7 core pieces of life and realizing if we're the basic C or we're a B and we want to be a B plus, let's look at those 2 bottom categories and figure out how to get there. Because if we're working our lives away to make all of this money, but we're not happy and fulfilled on the back end, that doesn't feel great either, right? And so I really think it's about looking at the whole picture and really turning that audit insight into action so that we feel more well-rounded. I know that I'm like the queen of saying balance is bullshit, but at the end of the day, I do think we have to at least try to achieve some form of balance within those 7. I think some of the biggest things is commitment and accountability. And so like if you do a public declaration and you share with people on social media or your team or an accountability partner that this is your 12-week goal, it's the same thing as 75 hard. It's the exact same thing. I need to hit these numbers and I need you to hold me accountable. Join masterminds, connect with real estate pros in your environment. We've got Empower right here. Anna and I are always here. We see a lot of the same faces every week, and all of us are happy to help hold you accountable. And so the weekly reviews and going back at the end of your week and looking at your KPIs is so important. Schedule non-negotiable time with yourself to look back at what you executed, what you did well, what filled your cup, what drained your energy. And then you've got to really push in and focus because you've only got 12 weeks. This isn't a 52-week year any longer. We've only got 12 weeks and we can all do anything for 12 weeks. And so the biggest thing I think is that your 12 weeks starts now. You do not need to wait for next January. You don't need to wait for next Monday to start it. The best time to begin is right now, in this very moment when we get off this phone and this Zoom. If you guys need a GPS, let me know. I can send you the Canva link. If you need our Empower notebook, we'll go ahead and send out. Actually, Anna, a lot of our Empower notebooks that we do at conferences, we should send it out after this. It's got the GPS, it's got the weekly breakdowns, all of that stuff. So she just thumbs up, she'll send it. But you need to make sure you're celebrating your progress. At the end of every week, you need to do your reflection and then you need to have a small celebration. That's very, very important. And you need to have a bigger celebration at the end of the 12 weeks to say, I did it. Don't just focus on what you didn't do. Focus on all of the things you also did do, right? And so you need to execute with discipline. Focus on your scores of your KPIs. If you said you were going to make 5 conversations, make the 5 conversations. If you didn't, and you only made 4, tomorrow you need to make 6. You just have to be very disciplined and make sure that you're doing 1% better each day. And the next steps is to get the book. And if you already have it, then read it again and set up your GPSs for your month, for your week. And then that all will tie into your big year and your big goals. And hopefully this helps you guys break down your goals into more achievable bite-sized pieces. All right, well, I'm done talking. Does anybody have anything or questions, comments? Nothing from our people over here?
Actually, Allison, I'm Amy. I'm new to Anna's team. I'm actually hi. This will be, I do the 12-week year. I've got a spreadsheet that I do. And what I try to do is make sure that I'm actually doing the activity and not worry about the outcome, especially in real estate. You know, the 5 calls, I have it here is 5 calls a week, 5 CMAs, or 5 calls a day, 5 CMAs a week, post to social media somewhere, that kind of stuff. But if any of you struggle with this 12-week year, because I've done this too as well. But if you, I was in a book club and we did the book Atomic Habits first, because that really kind of pushes the needle, that 1% to realize then we went right into the 12-week year, not to backtrack what you just said, but
no, I love
that book opened my eyes more. I think if I'd done the 12-week year first, it wouldn't have made as much sense to me as doing the Atomic Habits first. And then we just did that book. I don't know if y'all have done that book, but it's a great book if anybody just wants to. I mean, it doesn't just talk about work. It talks about your health and your finances and your relationships and how to move the needle.
I think the Atomic Habits, I'm looking back trying to find it to give it to one of my gals, but my dog eats all of my books, which is so I don't probably have a copy for them, but Atomic Habits is great. I've read that multiple times too. And I agree. You've got to get in the mindset of that 1% better, of just making the daily KPIs and making sure that you're celebrating your wins. And it's like you said, if you really break this thing down and realize all I have to do is 5 calls a day, 5 conversations a day. That's it. But if you tell me I've got to do X amount a week, then it's like, I don't know, I can't do that, right? Because our brains trick us.
And 20 so a week, yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's only broken down to 5 a day.
Yeah, you just have to break it down. So no, I love that, Amy. Thank you so much. Okay, anybody else? And again, we will send over a GPS and a worksheet and all of these things, but I think the most powerful thing is really seeing what your rating was. And then obviously if you were a 53, do 53 over 70 and do the math and kind of see where you rate and what your outcome was, and then figure out what are the 2 lowest categories that maybe we could take a stab at. And I'm here to help if anybody wants to hop on a call anytime, talk about some strategies and thoughts and things that we could do to implement. There's tons of people that are in your corner that are here rooting for you.
Al, I know you got to go sweep your floor, but I'll leave you guys too with the thought. I hated Atomic Habits and I hated James Clear. And I thought that it was such a dull way to live your life, because I think he talks about, like I say this all the time now, decision fatigue. And I can think about people in my life that wanted all the same colored dress shirts and all the same colored pants because they didn't want to have to make decisions in the morning. And I remember thinking I could never live my life this way, because this is not, it's going to kill my sparkle and I'm going to hate it. I think the thing that we miss with real estate agents a lot of times is that we got into this business because there was a perception of your own freedom and your ability to do what you wanted to do. but the beautiful freedom that I have found in the discipline of keeping my calendar, time blocking my activities, like it really has changed my life. I feel so free when I wake up in the morning and my calendar is blocked through with all of the activities and tasks, both meetings and non-negotiables for my 12-week year that I have to accomplish. And I'm telling you, it's just like, it's kind of like one of those things. Like you won't understand it until you dive in and do it. But I am here to say that if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I literally would have like burned the book Atomic Habits. I heard James Clear speak in San Diego. Allison, you were with me like a couple years ago, and I remember being like, this sucks. I would never want to live my life like this. But now I do. And now I feel like I have so much more space to be the creative, spontaneous, fun person than when I wasn't living by it. So again, if it doesn't resonate with you, because it's not resonates, I think, with a lot of entrepreneurs and free spirits and creatives, like I promise, like get into it and like you will find the freedom that you are actually craving. And I can't believe I have to admit that on camera, because I thought it was a bunch of bullshit for a long time.
All right. Well, I don't know how to stop sharing because I'm an idiot. So thank you guys all. We are here. If you, I don't know, I never would see my screen, and it's all good. But we are here if you need us for anything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Reach out to me directly or Anna directly. And we're always here. And we will see you next week. And I don't know if we have a speaker. Do we have a speaker lined up next week? If not, I have a spreadsheet on this whole thing that we maybe just do like an open mastermind on, like breaking down our GPSs and doing a spreadsheet and really going through it one by one. That might be a good option. So
I love that. Also,
otherwise,
don't
we
forget,
are
guys, if you're
always
interested,
here.
we have a 3-day course with Dave Frost next week as well.
Yep.
We've emailed out information on that. He gave us a really good discount, $79 for a week, and then a whole month worth of Rainmaker coaching. So if you guys are interested and you haven't heard about it, let me know.
Yep.
I'm gonna get you registered.
Yeah, it's on our Agents Empower link. So we will do a follow-up with the link to that. You can click and find the course on that, but we also will send over one of our workbook links. And then again, our information is all over. So just call me anytime.
Happy Wednesday.